The content, language, and opinions expressed in tonight's show are solely those of the original host and its contributors. The content, language, and opinions do not necessarily represent those of WAAR Radio, the WAAR Radio staff, or other hosts connected to this radio station or shows.
Hello.
DateLine. Liberal Hypocrisy.
It's a disturbing pattern.
As most of our listeners know, we here at the Ascend Conservatism show periodically expose liberal hypocrisy.
Right on!
Of course, since most things they do is contrary to their liberal talking points, these examples are easy to come by. Tonight, we have more examples that destroy the left's phony war on women, political charade, and actually shows that if there is a war on women, it is from liberal America.
That's the fact, Jack!
As big, rich, one-percenter, billionaire donors like to fund Democrat candidates and progressive groups, it makes us laugh when they are not only caught propagating a true war on women, it's a double dose of irony when they are exposed as racist as when they attack a Latino woman.
Ay, caramba!
Madeline Garcia as a cook and housekeeper for a married couple, a pair of ultra-wealthy Democrat donors who fired her when she was 9 months pregnant after she requested maternity leave.
Say what?
Bleeding heart liberals. Am I right?
Right.
Wrong. Laura Baxter Simmons, who is married to the hedge fund tycoon Nathaniel Simmons, objected to Garcia's request for maternity leave when she was just in her first trimester. And when later in her pregnancy she complained that it was hard on her to go up and down the stairs in this multi-million-dollar 6,700 square foot home.
Champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
A home in the liberal bastion of Berkeley, California, Baxter Simmons purposefully sent Garcia on extra trips downstairs to the wine cellar as punishment.
You disgust me.
The couple are high-dollar donors to Democrat candidates and run a foundation that distributes tens of millions of dollars to progressive left-wing groups each year. Garcia also says that even before she requested maternity leave, she was denied mandatory rest and lunch periods, and without even being compensated as according to California labor law requirements.
Well, I think it's outrageous.
She routinely worked more than 8 hours per day. I guess that is why liberals want open borders. More slave labor.
That's a fact, Jack!
But liberal hypocrisy doesn't end there. More on that subject later in DateLine. Stay tuned. DateLine, Hollywood. After the high school dropout / actor / Hollywood intelligentsia, Seth Rogen embarrassed himself with his moronic and disrespectful comments about the American hero Chris Kyle in the movie about his life, The American Sniper, another brain-dead actor opens his mouth.
I'm shocked.
Most Hollywood nincompoops understand that saying stupid things just might be detrimental to their careers, as well as exposing their well-crafted and phony images for exactly what they are. Well-crafted and phony.
Right.
It also might expose them as ignorant ne'er-do-wells living in a unicorn and pixie dust engulfed bubble devoid of any reality.
Wow.
Too harsh?
No.
Hugh Jackman came out in favor of gun control with his support of billionaire loon and liberal guilt champion Michael Bloomberg's Everytown for Gun Safety in their Not One More campaign.
Wow. What a nerd.
While actors speaking out on things that nobody cares what they think about, Jackman is a special breed. He's not only another La-La Land loony spouting off about the Second Amendment, but he's not even an American citizen.
Say what?
Yep, but that's not the kicker.
Get to the point.
He's from Australia.
Do you come from a land down under?
Not only does a vacuous celebrity want to preach to us about our constitutional rights, but he's not even an American citizen, even after living over a decade in the United States.
I take offense to that.
Of course, when you live in a $25 million home in Manhattan,
Champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
it's hard to comprehend everyday life for us common folk.
Shame on you.
What really irks me is that Jackman is from the land of Oz, so he should know that banning guns not only doesn't stop crime, but it has the opposite effect.
That's the fact, Jack!
Australia all but banned guns back in 1996, and the results have been catastrophic.
That's a fact, Jack!
Between 1995 and 2007, assaults rose 49.2% and robbery 6.2%.
Wow.
Sexual assaults, Australia's equivalent term for rape, increased 30%.
I think it's outrageous.
And overall, Australia's violent crime rate from the day they banned guns to 2007 rose by over 42%.
This is unconscionable.
And what are the proponents here in the U.S. saying with such empirical evidence stacked against gun control in the Australia live test case?
And I don't know the answer to that.
Disingenuous gun control advocates claim a strawman victory over the fact that suicides by guns in Australia fell dramatically.
It's incredible.
What they forget to mention, as usual, is the whole truth.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Fact of the matter is, suicide by hanging increased at the same amount that gun suicides fell. So with the test case on the books right there down under, idiots like those in Hollywood and on the left push their head deeper into the sand and spew more stupidities that can only get more people killed by trying to disarm law-abiding citizens, all the while knowing that criminals will be the only ones left with weapons.
You talk about reckless and irresponsible. Wow.
Well, of course, celebrities and liberal politicians will still have armed security protecting them.
Look into the mirror and see your own hypocrisy.
DateLine. Liberal Hypocrisy Part 2.
Don't!
As Democrats in the last election tried the tired, old, worn-out war on woman ploy, it obviously didn't work. Once the election was over, though, and the new Congress was to convene, the donkeys in Washington, D.C.
This town needs an enema.
dropped the veil on the real war on women.
Say what?
It's true.
Get to the point.
I am.
Okay.
Female Democrat Representative Tammy Duckworth from Illinois, who was 8 months pregnant at the time of the Democratic House leadership vote in D.C. and was advised by her doctor not to travel, was denied a proxy vote.
Outrageous! Outrageous!
And she was denied by another Democrat female head of the House Democrat Caucus leadership and committee member elections, Representative Rose DeLauro from Connecticut.
It's incredible.
Duckworth is a veteran who lost both her legs in Iraq, which can only make traveling to Washington 8 months into her pregnancy even more difficult. Now, we know liberals have a disdain for the military, but to discriminate against a disabled veteran that's also pregnant, that's in your own party, is despicable.
You disgust me.
True. It's disgusting, too.
Right.
And just imagine, a woman has been a leader of the Democrats in the House for the last 8 years, and this is, of course, the great Nancy Pelosi.
I don't know what was so great about the Depression, but that's the name they give it.
But we all know how many women Nancy has had to bury to get to where she is today.
All of them have projects that are shovel-ready.
Fact of the matter is, Democratic staffers, on promise of anonymity, say the reason Duckworth wasn't allowed a proxy vote was because Pelosi didn't want her to vote for someone else for House Minority Leader.
This is unconscionable.
So it didn't matter to Madam Pelosi that Duckworth was a female Democrat who was also a disabled veteran.
Oh, but chicken.
The only thing she wanted was votes to be leader once again.
But I have selfish reasons.
And so when the Democrats rolled out the pathetic war on women attack dogs for Hillary in 2016, let's remind everyone who is the only party in this country that propagates the real war on women.
Amen, brother. Amen.
DateLine. Flashback. Franklin Delano Roosevelt's legacy. As we detailed in our August 25th Ascend Conservatism show titled Democrat Foreign Policy Disasters, FDR made a monumental mistake after the Second World War that sentenced hundreds of millions of people to decades of misery under oppressive communism.
Boo! You suck!
Of course, liberal historians have been trying to gloss over this epic fail for how long?
Forever.
They've tried to rosy up the fact that Roosevelt allowed the butcher Stalin to take half of Europe after the fall of the Nazis. But a recent article from Arnold Beichmann from the Hoover Institute titled Roosevelt's Failure at Yalta debunks the ludicrous op-ed from the June 21st, 1990 Wall Street Journal from the eminent Pulitzer Prize-winning historian Professor Arthur Schlesinger, Jr. that was titled FDR Vindicated.
Oh my God.
Professor Schlesinger claimed that especially the criticism of the 1945 Yalta Agreement, but in general long-time disparagement of Roosevelt's wartime diplomacy, was wrong.
Right.
Of course, the criticism was right.
Right.
You said that already.
Okay.
And the op-ed also claimed the successful counter-revolutions in Central Europe in the late 80s were actually, quote, the fulfillment of Roosevelt's purposes at the Yalta Conference, unquote.
Say what?
Yep. That's what lefty historians do. They draw correlations after 40 years that, to them, seem logical.
Oh, but chicken.
Of course, it's the goal of all liberals to take credit away from Republicans. Ronald Reagan, who actually was the one who brought down the Berlin Wall, the same symbol of the Soviet iron grip on a once free peoples, it's also the wall that FDR and Stalin built together.
That's the fact, Jack!
So this unconscionably moronic decision to give half of Europe to the communist mass murderer Stalin was some brilliant plan by FDR to free these same peoples 40 years later.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
One observer at Yalta, Charles Bolin, the president's interpreter, sharply criticized FDR at the time. Bolin, who was at Yalta, said that President Roosevelt didn't understand the great gulf that separated the thinking of a Bolshevik Stalin and the American mindset.
Duh!
The naivete FDR showed of the communist revolutionaries and brutal killers can be seen today in another rose-colored glass-wearing liberal president. The only problem with Obama's feckless foreign policy is that it won't send millions into oppressive communism, but it just might give the Islamic State its own country to strike at the West, and it might give the mullahs in Iran a nuclear weapon that could wipe out an entire city.
Mr. President, this is ridiculous. There is no plan.
You talk about reckless and irresponsible. Wow.
It's time that this country wake up, stop playing PC politics, and remove the commander-in-chief that is neither a commander nor a chief.
That's a fact, Jack!
DateLine, the Obama Presidential Library. As the Barack Obama presidency winds down, there is more and more talk about his legacy and his accomplishments. And the conversation eventually turns to the future home of his presidential library. While there are many sarcastic comments on the right about this subject, we here at DateLine will try to be fair and objective.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't say that with a straight face.
Right.
But what we will do here tonight in this segment of DateLine is give ideas to the Obama Presidential Library Committee members. May we suggest that the largest room be an auditorium where there will be daily lectures on upholding the Constitution. And there must be a Queen Elizabeth room where visitors can listen to all of Obama's bloviating speeches on iPods. But, and this is a big but,
I like big butts and I cannot lie.
They must build next to the room with all the nauseating speeches, using those styrofoam Roman columns from the 2008 campaign, and build a Roman-style vomitorium.
I'm going to throw up. I think I'm going to throw up.
Don't throw up.
May we also suggest, per President Obama's penchant to embarrassing himself at world events, there has to be a presidential selfie room. This room will contain all the ridiculous pics that he has taken with celebrities and other world figures. And of course, the featured selfie must be the clowning he did at the Nelson Mandela Memorial.
You disgust me.
Something that was shameful and beneath the office of the president, but for this president is par for the course.
4! 4! Well, I yelled 4, you idiot. That's what 4 means.
Oh, I get it. Par for the course.
Right.
And, of course, there has to be an entire wing at the Presidential Library dedicated to Obama's real passion, the game of golf.
That's true.
There, the visitor can take swings at real golf balls and see if you can hit it as far as the leader of the free world. Of course, most 13-year-old girls can hit it as far as President Sissy Pants.
2 snaps, a twist, and a kiss.
But may we also suggest that there be a presidential podium next to the tee. That way, our library participants can announce the beheading of a fellow American right before teeing off, just like President Obama.
Oh, no, come on now, baby.
Hey, I call him like I see him.
Okay.
And last but not least, let's have the 44th President's Economic Success Room. Here, there will be testimonials of all the economists who claim that Barack Obama's economic policies were great ideas. And of course, another important decision that needs to be made is what type of music will be played to the library's guests. May we suggest what Barack Obama claims to be one of the most beautiful sounds in the world. But of course, the most important decision that needs to be made about the Obama Presidential Library is where to put it. The two leading candidate cities are Honolulu, where he grew up, and Chicago, where he blackmailed banks into making risky loans that led to the Great Recession.
Ouch!
But may we here at DateLine, respectfully, make one suggestion that is more apropos. Since really, the only people that will be dumb enough to want to go to this Liapalooza circus show will be the last few Americans still drunk on the Obama Hope and Change Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid, Kool-Aid.
For the very best drink you ever made.
Kool-Aid, Kool-Aid.
Be sure that the envelope says Kool-Aid.
The location must be where they all are familiar with and be able to go there any time they like. Our suggestion for the location for the Barack Obama Presidential Library is the only place that his 8 disastrous years in office will look like a success.
Welcome to Fantasy Island.
DateLine. Liberal Hypocrisy, Part Trace.
Look into the mirror and see your own hypocrisy.
As we've stated twice already tonight here on DateLine, it's the Democrats who truly have executed a war on women in recent years.
Hello.
And what's astounding is that some of the time, it's liberal women fighting that war.
Hard to comprehend, but that's true.
Let's look no further than the White House, the architect of this fallacious GOP war on women mantra created to save a failed president back in 2012.
The stupidity of the American voter.
Say what?
The stupidity of the American voter.
With all the claims of Republicans being misogynistic and a straw man of a legislative bill, the Lilly Ledbetter law, that was supposedly to ensure equal pay for women in the workplace, fact of the matter is, in this same White House, its female workers get paid 70 cents on the dollar compared to their male counterparts.
That is so much crap.
While hypocrisy from this administration is not surprising, it's the brain-dead, morally bankrupt, illegitimate press corps that refuses to report the truth about the real war on women that disgusts me.
You disgust me.
You too, huh?
Absolutely, positively, unequivocally.
But it's not only this intellectually corrupt administration that claims the GOP has a war on women while it propagates it itself, but their liberal sycophants in Hollywood as well. Back in the 2012 presidential election cycle, dumb as stumps female actresses were rolled out on what seemed to be a daily basis to con the American people that it was the Republicans that were the misogynistic party in the country, and that it was its candidate for president, Mitt Romney, that was one of the worst culprits.
They're making that up. They're making that up.
The truth was, Mitt was first in the country as having women in his administration as Massachusetts governor.
That's true.
A study done by the Center of Women in Government and Civil Society found that in 2003, Romney's first year as governor, Massachusetts ranked first among all 50 states.
57 states?
Okay. Massachusetts ranked first among all 57 states in women appointed to policy leadership roles.
That's the fact, Jack!
The study found that the top 20 appointed policy leaders in Romney's administration, 10 of them were women.
And that's a beautiful thing.
But the female actresses, aka La La Land Lady Lemmings, were cut from the same hypocritical cloth of their puppet masters in the Obama re-election campaign that would wind up these vacuous fembots to regurgitate the false party line on the war on women.
Oh my God.
And what's so pathetic, they were promoting a president that paid his female staffers less than the men, and in their own film industry, women are also paid even less than 77 cents on the dollar than the pathetic average of the White House employees.
That's a fact, Jack!
All those Hollywood phonies, like Harvey Weinstein, film producer, studio executive, and co-founder of Miramax Films, slobbered over Obama and through multi-million-dollar fundraisers, all the while parroting the liberal lie of the Republicans' war on women, and he paid his female employees much less than their male counterparts.
Oh my God!
So the next time a liberal tries to resurrect the war on women BS, you must bitch slap them with the facts.
Quiet.
DateLine, the Department of Defense. While we here at the Ascend Conservatism show have documented many instances of this administration's petty and spiteful vengeance for those who dare to speak out about its obvious incompetence,
did anybody count on the utter incompetence of this administration
and its criminality?
Well, I would say, first of all, that now clearly President Obama broke our laws, and that cannot be ignored or brushed aside.
This next story about a brave captain of a Special Forces team, Matt Goldstein, will make your blood boil.
It's a disturbing pattern.
In Marja, a district of Afghanistan that was packed with IEDs and is a collection of villages that was dominated by the Taliban.
The Taliban.
No, genius, the Taliban. And the area was especially advantageous for them to fight the American forces, as there were many crisscrossing canals and tree lines that made it easy to defend. Back on February 20th, 2010, the Battle of Marja had been underway for about a week. While the heavier U.S. forces were attacking from the north, Goldstein led his small team with some Afghan military as basic window dressing to attack Marja from the south. The fight took a turn for the worse, and they were pinned down by rapid gunfire as one of their vehicles got stuck in the mud and an Afghan soldier was shot. As Dan Lamont of the Washington Post summarized last week, under heavy fire, Goldstein, and I quote, ran about 150 meters to the trapped vehicle to retrieve a powerful 84mm rifle that's an anti-tank weapon. While moving under gunfire, he coordinated a medical evacuation for the wounded Afghan soldier and then opened fire with the 84mm. Unquote. Despite the fact that the Taliban had successfully pinned down the rest of his men, Goldstein was running in the open as it looked like he, quote, was alone fighting 30 enemy fighters out in the poppy fields, unquote. He then coordinated airstrikes from a drone and FA-18 Hornets that silenced the enemy. The entire battle lasted 4 hours, and Goldstein basically single-handedly saved the lives of over 100 men. For his actions, Goldstein was awarded the Silver Star and was told that the medal would likely be upgraded to the Distinguished Service Cross. The DSC is the Army's equivalent of the Navy Cross and is just below the Medal of Honor. So while he was still serving and waiting to see if he would receive the DSC, he then found out that he was not going to be receiving the Distinguished Service Cross, but he was also going to be losing his Silver Star.
Outrageous!
And he would lose it not because of what he did that day in Marja, but they claimed that he, quote, would be under investigation for an undisclosed violation of the military's rules of engagement in combat for killing a known enemy fighter and a bomb maker.
Say what?
I told you, I don't make this stuff up.
Kind of a chicken
So he would not only be losing his bravery award for saving so many lives, but he would lose it for actually having the nerve of killing an enemy fighter and bomb maker.
Oh my God!
But of course, with this administration, nothing is what it seems. In 2011, shortly after a book detailing Goldstein's heroism by author and Marine Bing West came out that had quoted Goldstein making critical remarks about the American strategy in Afghanistan, that is when the Army started its investigation into this hero.
You disgust me.
Just for speaking his mind, they attacked a decorated officer that was commissioned in 2002 out of West Point and had served combat tours in both Iraq and Afghanistan.
Wow.
Even before the Battle of Marja, he had already received Valor Awards. Under constant and intense opposition from the Taliban, he and his handful of American soldiers secured a big chunk of one of the deadliest places on Earth.
It's incredible.
Goldstein came to be recognized as one of the most successful officers in the Helmand province as he had a special relationship working with the local tribes.
He's done such a good job.
The revocation of an award such as a Silver Star is extraordinarily rare. This would only happen in the case of a recipient being convicted of a serious crime that in some way dishonored his service. But of course, Goldstein has never even been convicted of a crime. He hasn't even been charged with one.
I don't believe that.
As we try to stamp out terror groups like the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS, to name a few, it seems like this Department of Defense and its puppet masters in the White House care more about their image than victories on the battlefield and the brave men and women who fight for this great country. No matter what sacrifices you make for this country, or the actions of valor you show in the throes of war, if you speak out against this administration, there will be repercussions and there will be payback.
A chill wind is blowing in this nation. A message is being sent through the White House. If you oppose this administration, there can and will be ramifications.
DateLine. Bitch slap of the week. What some might call the most satisfying part of DateLine is here.
Dynamite!
This is where we administer instant justice. No media disinformation, no liberal spin, facts presented and retribution given. This week's winner of the Bitch Slap of the Week: President Barack Hussein Obama.
I'm shocked.
I know. He's DateLine's favorite whipping boy, but can you think of anyone who deserves it more?
Anyone?
And of course, this being his third appearance as the Bitch Slap recipient, he has set another record in a long line of records in his presidency. Not only is he the first two-term president to never ever get his own budget passed,
Come on, what's the matter with you?
he also holds the modern-day record of 54 straight months of unemployment above 7.5%.
Oh, my neck!
Of course, if they counted people who gave up looking for work, the record would still be running. And worst of all, the U.S. debt has increased by 70% under Obama, from $10.6 trillion in January 21st, 2009 to over $18.1 trillion today. So what do you have to say about this dubious record, Mr. President?
But let me.
But these pitiful, disastrous records are not why Obama is getting his comeuppance this week.
Get to the point.
It's his recent comments about the Christians and non-comments about Christians, as well as his purely political announcements on what the military is going to do, telegraphing our troop movements months in advance.
You're a moron! Come on, what's the matter with you?
While the President of the United States bends over backwards to not call out Islamic extremism for what it is, he was quick to draw a ludicrous correlation to the Crusades to what's happening now with ISIS and other Islamic terror groups. Of course, he forgot to mention that the Crusades not only started almost 1,000 years ago, but they were started to push back the Islamic conquests, like we see today. But don't forget, this isn't the first time Obama was disingenuous with his statements. But I guess, if you like your caliphate, you can keep your caliphate. So the president threw Christians under the bus, and being a fellow Christian himself,
Okay.
he continually kowtows to Islam.
The future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam.
And with the last 6 years of the president's tenure, this just proves how dumb he really is.
Hard to comprehend, but that's true.
We all saw the fallacious claims before he was elected that he would be loved by the Muslim world, or at least loved more than the vilified George W. Bush. And he followed that with his Islam butt-kissing speech in Cairo. But since the Muslim world is literally on fire, with the cancer of Islamic terrorism spreading all over the Middle East, and now, for the first time since the Crusades, it has spread to Northern Africa, this naive, ne'er-do-well nincompoop-in-chief doesn't change course and is still blind to the reality that everyone else sees on their TVs every night.
Shame on you, Mr. President.
You would think that since he has a lower approval rating in the Muslim world now than Bush ever did, it just might slap him into a reality check. But it hasn't.
You suck, you jackass!
And that's why we're here today.
Talked about my Muslim faith.
Quiet.
We hope to bitch slap some sense into a president that has given rise to the first caliphate in 100 years and then decides to reach back 1,000 years to the Crusades to get Christians off their high horse.
And lest we get on our high horse and think this is unique to some other place, remember that during the Crusades and the Inquisition, people committed terrible deeds in the name of Christ.
Come on, what's the matter with you?
That, Mr. President, gets you into the Bitch Slap Hall of Fame.
Winning. Ding!
But Obama wasn't done there.
Get to the point.
But Obama wasn't done after throwing Christians under the bus. Besides his dissing Christianity in favor of Islam, he actually got into a smackdown, drag-out fight with himself.
Say what?
Yep. Barack Obama basically sued himself last week.
Say what?
Pay attention, kid. Barack Obama, on no less than 22 times, stated publicly that he could not just stop deportations of illegals and grant amnesty to millions.
That's the fact, yeah!
22 times.
Wow.
So when the state of Texas took Obama's word for it, that his executive amnesty was indeed illegal, and sued, and won, Barack Obama filed a lawsuit appealing what he said wasn't legal in the first place.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
So not only is the commander-in-chief supposed to coordinate the fight against the Islamic terrorists, to which he is doing a crappy job, but now he's fighting himself in the courts. When will this nation grab Barack Obama by the shoulders and with one voice say to him,
"You can act like a man! What's the matter with you?"
And that's DateLine for this day, February 23rd, 2015.